Tonight on CFTK-TV News, a Terrace woman has died in an early morning structure fire. A new report commissioned by the Alberta Premier on COVID recommendations, and we learn about the planets aligning.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We begin tonight in Terrace as there's been a death in the community from a house fire. CFTK-TV's Damien Smith has the details.
Though snowing and cold right now, one residence was found on fire yesterday on Olson Avenue. The Terrace RCMP and fire department arrived on scene, and unfortunately, the severity of the fire claimed one life.
Well, we are here at the 4500 block here on the northeast side of Terrace, where it was announced yesterday that one woman was deceased after a fire in a garage just yesterday morning.
Now, according to the RCMP, what started the cause of the death was a structure fire, and the woman was then taken by EHS but pronounced dead at the hospital. As of right now, on January 28th, the death is believed to be suspicious. Anyone who has any additional information on this case is urged to call the Terrace RCMP at 250-638-7400. From CFTK-TV in Terrace, I'm Damien Smith.
An audit of BC timber sales and timber sale license holders in the Haida Gwaii Natural Resource District has been completed. The board says they completed a compliance audit that examined all forestry planning and activities carried out by BCTS and TSL holders in the area between May 1st, 2022 and May 31st, 2024. The parties complied with most legislative requirements with two exceptions. Auditors found BCTS was not diligent in inspecting approximately 90 kilometers of its roads and structures in the Sewell Inlet operating area. This was considered a significant noncompliance. Following the audit, BCTS inspected the roads to identify maintenance priorities and has committed to working with the Ministry of Forests and the Haida Nation to develop road deactivation plans as needed. For the other issue, auditors found all three TSL holders audited had abated fire hazards within the required period. However, two TSL holders did not complete the required number of fire hazard assessments and did not conduct fuel hazard assessments on time. This was considered an area for improvement since fire hazards were effectively abated. Sonia Furstenau has resigned as leader of the BC Green Party 3 months after failing to win a seat in the legislature in the 2024 provincial election. Furstenau was first elected MLA for the Cowichan Valley in 2017 and became leader of the BC Greens in 2020. In the October 2024 provincial election, Furstenau decided to run in the Victoria Beacon Hill riding, where she was defeated by BC NDP incumbent Grace Lohr. And the town of Smithers will be hosting a town hall in February. The town hall will host an event known as Northern Energy Dialogues, which is built around having conversations about energy system transitions inside of the local region. The event will be held on Wednesday, February 12th from 6:30 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. The University of Northern British Columbia and University of Victoria will use what they learn about Northern BC's energy needs, challenges, and opportunities in a multi-year-long research project that they are in the midst of conducting. Coming up next, we learn about how the planets have aligned. Welcome back. The body of a 21-year-old snowboarder has been found after he was reported missing from Cypress Mountain Resort on Friday. A statement from police in West Vancouver says the man from Richmond had been snowboarding with his friends and was last seen on one of the resort's runs. Police say ski patrol and search and rescue crews conducted an extensive search, and the man was found in a gully adjacent to a run. They say the man was pronounced dead at the scene, and the investigation has been turned over to the BC Coroner's Service. A body has been recovered from a lake north of Whitehorse after a weekend ice fishing tragedy. RCMP say one person died after a vehicle drove into open water Saturday on Lake La Barge, about 50 kilometers north of the Yukon capital. 2 other people were inside when the vehicle went into the water. Mounties did not provide an update on the condition of the survivors. The planets have aligned, and CTV's St. John Alexander has the explanation.
So right now you can see this arc of planets, and you've got Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Venus, and Saturn, all in alignment.
All putting on quite a show, all at just the right time. And when the sun goes down, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are all visible to the naked eye.
It's wonderful to be able to go walk my dog at dusk and look up and recognize right away, hey, I know that's Mars.
And Metro Vancouver has a front row seat. This is particularly special in the winter because often it's overcast, raining, and we miss out. Remember when everyone was excited about the eclipse in April? For that one day, that key fleeting moment, the clouds moved in and nobody could even find the sun.
At first I was really excited, but then when I saw the weather, I'm like, seriously?
Well, this time the show is going to last for weeks, and for quite some time now, so far anyway, conditions have been perfect.
Clear night where there's no clouds. The moon is a waxing crescent, meaning there's not a lot of moonlight.
So it's no wonder people have been flocking to the H.R. MacMillan Space Center when it's open at night to peek through their telescope.
Oh, it's busy. We've been calling in extra staff and staff to come in earlier to cover all this excitement about space.
Now, before the clouds roll in again, and they will, take a moment to look up.
What you would do is you would have the mountains in the north behind you, and you would be looking south.
Look out for reddish, yellowy, solid and bright. You'll know it's a planet if it doesn't twinkle. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
Down in the Vancouver area, it's been an uncommonly dry January. CTV's Angelina Ravelli looks into what this means for summer.
Typically, when you hear the term dry January, a lack of rain doesn't come to mind. But according to Environment Canada, this January is still trending to be one of Metro Vancouver's top 5 driest Januaries on record.
We've only recorded 33.5 millimeters so far this month, and the average monthly total should be around 168 millimeters or more. So with a few days remaining in January, we are probably unlikely to make up this deficit.
The dry weather comes due to a persistent ridge of high pressure over southern BC.
It actually diverts the storm tracks more to the north of BC. So that really explains why January for southern BC in particular has been lacking in precipitation.
Rain is in the forecast for Metro Vancouver later this week, and that means snow for the North Shore Mountains. The avalanche risk is expected to increase.
It has been quite dry. We've had very low snowfall amounts this month. And it's not great for the riding conditions, but it has resulted in overall low avalanche danger rating. So we're expecting snowfall to return to the coast on Thursday and continue right through the weekend. When there's any major change in weather, avalanche danger typically increases as well.
But as for residents of Metro Vancouver, the lack of rain should not affect anyone.
We closely monitor our snowpack and our weather conditions throughout the year, and we make adjustments to how we're storing water for the summer as the conditions change.
But even with the rain, it will still leave this month one of the driest Januaries recorded. Angelina Ravelli, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turning to the weather, the warm for January temperatures have gotten a little chillier around the region. A winter storm warning remains in effect for parts of BC's north coast. The bulletin from Environment Canada spans the Stewart area north of Prince Rupert and says heavy snow is expected through Wednesday morning. It says the snow is expected to begin overnight and intensify tomorrow before tapering off to a few flurries. The Weather Office says total accumulation in that area will be about 25 to 35 centimeters. On the north coast, the weather sat at around 2 degrees today with some light rain coming down. Winds got up to 50 kilometers an hour in some places. Tonight, expect some heavy rain and winds gusting up to 70 kilometers an hour this evening. Temperature around 4 degrees. Here in the Terrace area, today we had snow with the temperature sitting around -3 degrees. 2 to 4 centimeters is expected to have accumulated today. As for tonight, we can expect periods of snow changing to a mix of snow and rain. About 5 centimeters is expected. In the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it was a chilly -12 degrees with wind chill today, warming up a little coming into the afternoon. Tonight, expect a 30% chance of flurries early in the evening. On the north coast, the rain should dissipate later this week, and residents can expect sunshine on Thursday. In Terrace, for the next few days, it looks like conditions will stay freezing, with more snow and flurries throughout the week. In the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the week is looking like it'll stay cold, and some flurries are predicted. Checking highways now, roads around the Northwest saw a fair bit of snow today. Watch for slush and snow, as well as slippery sections along Highway 16. On Highway 37, slippery sections, fog patches, and snow. Expect limited visibility in some areas. On Highway 37A in both directions, shoulder maintenance between Bear Glacier turnout and Surprise pullout Windy Chain Up for 11.9 kilometers, as well as limited visibility with snow and slippery sections. Slippery sections on Telegraph Creek Road as well as on the Nishka Highway. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, an update on the Liberal leadership race. Thanks for staying with us. 2 people are facing charges in Prince George after police seized drugs and guns during an attempted traffic stop. RCMP say officers were patrolling along Highway 97 last week when they tried to stop a driver who they allegedly saw committing motor vehicle infractions. Instead of stopping for officers, the Mounties say the driver of the pickup sped away despite the icy road conditions. Police say they eventually used a spike belt to stop the vehicle, where they found suspected fentanyl and a loaded gun, and the driver, along with the passenger, were arrested. Turning to some federal news, we've had an update in the race for Liberal leadership. Here's more from CTV's Judy Trin.
The next Prime Minister of Canada.
Chandra Arya, the first Liberal to declare, has been ejected from the leadership race. The Ottawa MP had submitted the $50,000 deposit fee and said he gathered more than 1,000 signatures of endorsement. Arya says his removal raises significant questions about the legitimacy of the leadership race and, by extension, the legitimacy of the next Prime Minister of Canada. Arya was running on a platform of smaller government but does not speak French. The Foreign Affairs Minister says he's unqualified to be leader.
I expect the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada to be fully bilingual because we are in a bilingual country.
According to the Liberal Party constitution, the board can remove candidates with sole and unfettered discretion due to public statements, past improper conduct, and a lack of commitment to democracy. Just last year, Arya traveled to India to meet with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his own, at a time when the government had accused the Modi government of being involved in the killing of a Sikh activist. The Public Safety Minister, who has seen CSIS assessments on foreign interference, deflected when asked to comment.
That question's better put to the Liberal Party of Canada, its executive and its executive director. I saw the announcement and I really have no other insight or comment.
There are now 6 candidates approved by the party to run. One is making a direct appeal to Arya's supporters.
We need your vote and your support to elect and to make history for the very first time and have the first Canadian Prime Minister from the South Asian and Indo-Canadian community.
The approved candidates still have to be confirmed by Elections Canada. Among them, former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney has more than double the number of caucus endorsements than his closest rival, Chrystia Freeland.
The City of Terrace recently shared that they were having issues with the water system on the weekend, mainly in the Horseshoe and Birch Hill areas. But later it got to the point where on Sunday morning, the city actually posted an update asking residents to restrict their water usage since the problems were affecting other areas of Terrace. As for where things currently stand, the city said that crews have been working on fixing the main water line and will hopefully have it finished soon. A bereaved father is deciding to speak out after tragedy struck his family while on vacation. Here's CTV's John Venevali-Rao with that story.
We took this, I think, the day before we left.
Steve Goujon showed us the last picture taken of his family before they headed off on a much-anticipated holiday to a resort in the Dominican Republic, a trip that quickly ended in an unimaginable tragedy.
I think people need to be aware of what can happen.
Upon arriving at the resort in the evening, the Goujon family went to the buffet. Early the next morning, all four of them became violently ill.
We were all throwing up.
Goujon says he called the medical clinic at the resort, but says he was told no one could come to their room and that the family had to get themselves to the clinic.
I explained the severity of our symptoms and the inability of any of us to make it to the medical center. And when I say severity, like, we couldn't even make it to the bathroom.
Goujon says he called again in the afternoon and pleaded for help, at which point he says the resort did respond, but says by then the family had to be transported by wheelchairs to the resort's medical center. They were then taken by ambulance to a local hospital, where Mom April and son Oliver took a turn for the worse.
They degraded in terms of their health, and then my son passed away, and then very shortly after, my wife passed away.
Goujon waited until the next morning to tell his 7-year-old son Wesley that both his mom and brother had died.
It's the worst thing that a father and a husband will ever have to do.
A coroner's report determined the pair died from secondary causes related to food poisoning.
Coming home was very hard. Living life without them is extremely hard.
Now, a year later, Goujon has decided to speak out. He booked the trip through Air Transat Holidays. It, along with Wyndham Resorts and others, are named in a $10 million lawsuit filed on behalf of the Goujon family. The claim alleges the resort failed to follow proper hygiene protocols, have proper emergency protocols, and provide a timely response to the family's call for help.
I think that what the Goujon family would like is accountability. They'd like answers. They'd like somebody to take responsibility.
The company Transat says the hotel operator has assured us of its full cooperation with the authorities in shedding light on these tragic deaths. Transat Tours is also refuting the allegations made against it, none of which have been tested in court. John Venevali-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
A new critical report of recommendations commissioned by the Premier of Alberta has been released in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's CTV's Kathy Lee.
In a world still healing from the scars of COVID-19, a new report has emerged, stirring debate and concern.
It is presenting a very focused and incomplete version of many facts.
Commissioned by Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, costing $2 million, it offers recommendations from healthcare professionals and other experts following the province's pandemic response, including the government to refrain from future mask mandates for respiratory illnesses and stop using COVID-19 vaccines without full disclosure of potential risks. Health Canada saying vaccination remains one of the most effective ways to protect against serious illness, hospitalization, and death from COVID-19. The report also criticizes the use of lockdowns to control the spread of the disease and suggests more protection for doctors and pharmacists to promote alternative treatments.
We can take hydrochlorothiazide. That was studied. There was no benefit, and therefore it's not recommended for COVID. There have been randomized controlled trials that have shown no benefit for ivermectin.
Lead author Dr. Gary Davidson says he welcomes debate on anything in the report.
I actually am really concerned that it will have a really bad effect on public trust and impair future public health responses.
None of these recommendations should go forward without a full public discussion about the consequences.
The province says it will review and consider the report and its findings, but no policy decisions have been made yet. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
Turning to the markets now, strength in technology stocks helped Canada's main stock index move higher in late morning trading, while U.S. stock markets also rose to regain some of the ground lost Monday after the Chinese AI startup called DeepSeek unveiled a large language model that apparently rivals those created in the U.S. The Canadian dollar dropped just slightly and the price of gold rose. Oil rose a little, natural gas was down slightly, and aluminum went down as well. In Toronto, the TSX was up, the Venture Index was up. In New York, the Dow Jones was up, and the Nasdaq bounced back significantly as well. Still ahead, a new warning about e-transfer hacks. A new warning has come out about e-transfer hacks. Here's CTV's Pat Foran.
I'm still in shock.
Jay Wally of Brampton rents out 2 units and his tenants pay him each month by e-transfer. But in September, 2 payments of $2,500 and $2,000 did not end up in his bank account. His email had been hacked and the payments were intercepted and sent to someone else.
How can one single email be used by 2 different individuals which have no connections at all?
Walia does not use auto deposits. It appears his email account was hacked and criminals did something called Interact e-transfer interception fraud. They opened up a bank account with Walia's email and set up auto deposits so any money sent to him would automatically go to the scammers instead.
I am feeling scared that what if it happens again by other means?
Don't discount the importance of your email.
Cybersecurity experts say if a fraudster gets your email and hacks into your account, they could see the services you're signed up for and ask for password resets.
If your adversary is in your email inbox, it makes it very easy for them to start resetting every password that you have, and they're all getting those reset links.
To prevent Interact e-transfer fraud, use auto deposit, which is secure and convenient. It helps protect against email fraud, verifies transactions are sent to the intended recipient, and the money is automatically deposited without security questions. In the end, one of Walia's tenants got their money back and paid the rent, but the other remained scammed out of $2,000. The landlord has since changed his account to auto deposit to prevent this from happening again.
I feel for anybody else out there who is getting scammed because of all these culprits.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Finally, Canada will no longer permit cross-border hikers from Washington to enter British Columbia via the Pacific Crest Trail. The Canadian Border Services Agency says hikers and horseback riders will have to enter Canada first through a designated entry point. The agency says the move helps enhance border security and aligns with the American approach, as U.S. Customs and Border Protection does not allow travelers from north of the border to enter the United States on the trail. The Pacific Crest Trail spans more than 4,200 kilometers from Mexico to Canada, with a 13-kilometer extension that crosses into BC. That's our news for now. Thanks for watching. For more local news, you can visit cftktv.com.